Hey everybody, this is Dr. Kevin McGovern, and today is May 13th. This is episode, believe it or not, 23 of our Prove It Live podcast. Today's episode is going to be called The Syllabus. And today's episode is brought to you by the Farm, BPI in Waltham, Massachusetts, and Perfect Motion Sports Therapy in Acton, Massachusetts. And today, Ryan's throwing three. What's three mean? 3, 2, 1.
I was doing 23.
23. Got it. See, I'm always interrupted. I do this, and I'm interrupted. I don't understand. I'm quitting. This is it. This is my last show.
Okay. I'll take it from here.
Ladies and gentlemen, my golf partner, Ryan Gagne, and Mike Furry, take it away.
Hey, everybody.
Golf partner currently working on his elbow care right here.
Yeah, apparently had a big workers' comp injury at the farm the other. Can we talk about that before the show starts?
Like I said to you, Kevin, you know how I know that didn't happen?
Why? You have to work
Ryan
first?
doesn't do lessons.
Oh, well, apparently he did, yeah. All right.
Yeah, he did. He did one. The one lesson he did, he got hurt. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Farm Baseball. Oh, my God. See, now you did it to me. Welcome to Prove It Live. I'm Mike Ferry with the Farm Baseball Performance Institute, along with the aforementioned Kevin McGovern of Perfect Motion Sports Therapy, and the ever-present and apparently injured,
currently effervescent,
aka
smelling like Tiger Bomb,
producer at large.
We're not sponsored, but I'll gladly.
We mean large.
Yeah. What was that? Tiger Bomb?
Yeah, I said we're not sponsored, but I'll gladly.
What is this? 1988?
Tub of Tiger Bomb.
Well, Tiger Bomb, horse liniment, all going to kind of lead into what we're going to talk about.
There's like biofreeze, I think, in the office there. It's good stuff. Tiger Bomb. Like I think I used it when I was 9. Right, anyway. Like, even the bottle looks ancient. Look at that. Hold that up again.
I know. Where do you?
It's the only company that still uses a glass bottle.
Doesn't that catch your skin on fire?
Yeah. It's poison.
It is.
It's in glass because
I'll tell you right now, I've had this for several years.
Does it expire?
It expires in 2 months.
It expires in 2 months.
July of 2021. I've had this bottle. I am not exaggerating when I say 6 years or so.
But how do you know it expires? Like what happened? Like you burn your skin even more?
I think that's something they just have to put on there. It doesn't expire. It's like an unknown element. I don't even think it's earthly. So that is glass, right? The bottle.
It is. The bottle is glass for sure. And there was another one I remember when I was the trainer for the Pride. They used to use DMSO or something, which literally was horse liniment, and it reeked so bad. It was horrible.
I really like biofreeze. Biofreeze works.
Biofreeze is good, but again, get that stuff on your hands, man. Touch your eyeball, you won't do it again.
or elsewhere, yeah.
Yeah.
What I learned in high school too is when I accidentally got it elsewhere. Don't jump in the shower right away and try to wash it out.
No, that opens your pores.
Yeah.
I was not aware of that. And
just take it. Take it.
Yeah.
Well, could you jump in a glass of milk, right? Don't you do that if you cut your finger off?
Yeah, fill your tub with milk.
Fill your tub with milk.
All right.
What are we doing?
Brian, what's at the top of the order?
Well, we're talking about somewhat of a performance-enhancing drug right here, right? So we can kind of segue into a little bit of a scandal in the sports world from the past week or so. Kentucky Derby winner Medina Spirit failed a post-race drug test, and it kind of cast a little bit of the actual win. They're still performing follow-up tests, I believe, to determine what's going to happen from it. But they said that the horse had elevated levels of methazone, which is an anti-inflammatory corticosteroid, and sometimes used to relieve joint pain in horses.
Okay. Now, that's not hay, barley, oats, or grass, right?
Correct.
Or carrots. I mean, what else do you feed a horse? I don't know. I mean,
now, first of all, what's the guy's name? The
Bob Baffert.
Okay. All right.
Winningest trainer ever.
Right.
And I believe, Ryan, you can look this up. This is the 5th time this year that his horse has tested positive for some sort of controlled substance.
They clearly don't take this seriously, right? And by the way, I'm just going to throw it out there.
Well, they take it serious because there's millions of dollars bet. I mean,
but they don't. I mean, 5 times in a year, and the guy's still out there in one of the top 3 biggest races of the year.
Well, it's the biggest horse race of the year, without
right.
question.
So I mean, they obviously don't take it too seriously because they just let him slide by, and they have him in this race. I mean, they were asking for it, in my opinion. First of all,
now what if he wins this race? Then what are you going to do? What's going
you
to happen
guys all know I'm an animal lover. All right. Let's put that.
Oh, I did not. Oh, we did not know that. Oh,
I love animals. Okay.
Okay.
I had dogs my whole life. I even had cats.
We all love animals.
Deathly
Right?
allergic.
Brian, do you not like? Oh, you like animals? Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that said,
Delicious.
that said, why do we care what they're like? If this isn't like killing the horse, I mean, this is horse racing, right? I mean, why is that a big deal? Right. They gave him like a what, anti-inflammatory?
An anti-inflammatory for joint pain.
Well, actually, now they're saying, I guess the latest is it was some sort of rub for some dermatological problem for the horse, and it had that ingredient in there. That was the latest,
cream,
I think.
Not the clear.
Right? It was Barry dropped the clear off.
Yeah.
Not I forget what the cream or the clear. Yeah.
So, because you could say, all right, well, giving it a steroid, that's some form of abuse, right? I guess that would be the argument, right? And
no, I don't think that's the argument at all. I think the argument is that the horse can run faster because he or she's not in pain. So it is truly performance enhancing.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they're saying that it's
if it's solely performance enhancing, then right, and the horse is not in any harm, why not let them all do it? Who cares? Why do we care? Right. Well, and by the way, and I was going to say, if someone would say, well, the horse, and today's, I wouldn't be shocked if someone said, well, the horse can't consent to what you're putting in its body and blah, blah, blah. Right. So if it is technically considered abuse in that regard, how is it more abusive than committing the horse's first 3 years of its life to racing? Right.
Oh, yeah. And there's what's that one track where I think it's in California where horses have like crap, a horse. No, there's a track where horses have crashed and they have a lot of, because when a horse breaks their leg, they have to, shoot the horse. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they don't anymore, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
No, but there's a bunch that have been at this one particular track and they're still running races there. That's what I think. That's it. That's nice. See, this guy, he's earning his money today.
That was in Seabiscuit.
Del Bar. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the track where there has been. So they're still running there. I mean, it all comes down to money, Mike. I mean, like anything else, no one was care when Barry Bonds was hitting, ball after ball after ball into McCovey Cove, right?
Let him take him. I don't care. My take on that too.
Yeah.
I mean, set limitations maybe, but I mean, geez.
Advil's a performance-enhancing drug too. If you think about it, if I didn't take 6 Advil, would I be able to, play all 9 innings without, So yeah, I mean, it depends what level, I guess. And we had that discussion, months ago.
A guy like Barry Bonds goes on an 0 for 10, right? And San Francisco sports radio, you get guys calling up, going, "Guy stinks. I hate him." Right?
Wait, we have an email from a fan.
Oh,
a text message, and the answer is Santa Anita.
Wow,
is the thank you, Ms. Silverman, for that response for our live audience.
Nice. All right. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know why we're making a big deal of it. I don't think it's
and to answer
making
Kevin's
a federal case out of it. What's that?
No, you're not wrong. But and to answer Kevin's previous question, Bob Baffert in the last 12 calendar months, going back to May of 2020, has failed a drug. His horses trained by him have failed a drug test 5 times, including 7 months ago another horse,
which is exactly what he said,
for having the same exact anti-inflammatory drug.
Right. So this guy's getting on there like, oh my God, I don't know how this happened. Well, it's happened 5 times in the last 12 months. Yeah. What do you mean you don't know how it's happened? Of course you know how it happened. You just got caught.
I mean, could it be possible that I'm sure there's like guidelines and things that we don't know about? In other words, like you can give the horses things up until this date, all right?
I'm sure if they're. I didn't even know they were drug testing horses. I mean, I didn't know.
The weird thing to me is, again, like the horses. If I'm looking at the Bob Baffert ones, the horses that have failed tests in the last 12 months. None of them were for like a steroid to make them stronger or faster. It's medication, like painkillers, basically. So these 2 that had the cream for the joint relief, right?
Mm-hmm.
there was a medicine called scopolamine, which is a drug that's it's basically an anti-nausea, anti-vomiting drug.
The hell are you giving that to a horse for?
Whatever. I don't care. Like it sounds like so they're basically on osteoplex or whatever, right? So some geriatric, arthritic thing. And I'm sure that's not really why they're gonna. If that's the case, then it's beyond out of control. But anything performance enhancing, I understand, and it's taboo. But with horses, I mean, come on, give me a break. Anyway, all right, what else we got, Ryan? So what else happened this week?
We had another no-hitter in Major League Baseball.
How many is that so far?
I think that's only the second one. You can check that out, but I think that's only the second of the year.
No. We've got I think that's more like 4 or 5, right?
Okay, I'll go back and look that up. But
yeah,
Wade Miley for the Reds through one 3-0 win over the Indians. Did have a walk that he issued and had somebody reach on an error, but he only threw 114 pitches to complete the no-hitter. Another interesting note, though, the same week, Oakland A's Sean Manaea carried one into the 8th inning against Tampa Bay, and he had it broken up by his former high school teammate, Mike Brousseau. So I think that's kind of a neat little thing that kind of happened. Had a guy going for a no-hitter, and his former high school teammate, who's also now in the bigs, broke it up for him.
Yeah, Brousseau hit that home run off of Chapman last year, right? Didn't he go undrafted too?
Ahead, right?
Yeah, he's like an undrafted. Brousseau's like an undrafted player, I think.
I believe so, yeah.
Complete tryout type guy.
Yeah, there's been 4. I thought
4. I thought there was one. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's Musgrove, April 9th at Texas. Rodon at April 14th, Cleveland. Means May 5th, and then Miley Friday.
That's a lot, though, right?
Cleveland has been no hit twice this year already.
Yep.
Have they really?
April 14th, and then and then Friday. Yeah.
Wow.
So wait a minute. So now, the reason why I thought this was worth talking about is, look, a no hitter is always worth talking about, but
absolutely.
4, they did change the ball, right? Maybe there's something. Now, I personally thought there's no way, and I went on record saying there's no way that they're trying to, give the pitchers the advantage and to take offense away. But it could be coincidence, right? Correlation does not equal causation. However, it's pretty clear, right? It looks pretty obvious. It could be a coincidence, could be, but I don't know. That's a lot. Offense is way down. Averages are way down. It's definitely looking like, I know for a while.
Runs have to be down too, right? Are runs down? I know the Yankees scored 8 runs in the first inning all year.
The league OPS is down like 38 points. That's pretty glaring. And 56 points from 2019, lowest since 2014. So, offense has definitely taken a hit thus far in the season. Now, just like always, you can't really gauge hitting. I don't think it's not fair until the warm weather comes around, right? Because that's when hitters typically really heat up, and the balls start to fly a little bit more. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. But as of right now, it looks like something's affecting.
Now, would you look at combined or average exit velocity to see, right? Comparative year to year, right? Because, obviously the harder hit balls are going to hopefully find a home in the field somewhere in the stands, right? Yeah. So if the exit velocity is the same as it was last year, but the hits and everything else are down, these guys are just striking out of it.
Yeah, but it could be
ridiculous clip.
Yeah, but it could be the pitches. It really could be, because you can't just look at that, because if a guy's got a 80 mile an hour bat speed, he's going to hit the ball 100 miles an hour. 85 mile an hour bat speed, he's going to hit like close to 100 miles an hour. So that's not going to change because of when he makes contacts. You got to look at barrels, And
Okay.
I was just looking for it, and you know, quite
And
honestly,
barrels is what is
I didn't do
what are
this
the
before.
variables with those? What's the variables for?
Well, before I say that, but I didn't look at that first because I didn't, you know, it just sort of just dawned on me that this is bad. This no hitter has, you know, has been the fourth, and you know, barrels are the percentage of, you know, when you're squaring a ball rather than you're completely missing it. And
how do they know that? Is there a
Ryan
range of spin velocity or something? Like how do you know when you hit it on the sweet spot? I guess.
yeah, it has to do with, I think, the exits. Look it up. Ryan's gone over it before. Yeah.
Okay, so it's some combination
But
of
it's
stats that they can get a probability of barrel percentage. Is what it is.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. And it's
That
not
makes
even a
sense.
probability. I think it's just accurate. But again, you know, if that is down, let's say for the sake of argument that is down, you have 4 no hitters already. OPS is down. All these things are down. They had come out. They introduced a new ball. They said it's better for the pitchers. Maybe they're right. Maybe they actually did do it. You know, I do know that a good number of pitchers are not getting the spin that they used to with the older ball, right? Which makes sense because the lower the seams, the more spin you're going to get. But a lot of them feel that they are getting more break. Now, that said, they're, you know, you would think the higher the spin, the higher the break. That's not always the case. And you know, we could have Dave come on. In fact, we should have Dave on one of these shows, and he can talk about that. You know, like there's a sweet spot for, you know, where you want for slider and so on and so forth. And maybe that's what they were trying to accomplish with this. I don't know. But
Gotcha.
so far, looks like the defense is winning.
Yeah, and I was looking at the league stats, and I'll go to the barreling stuff in a second. I'll look that up. But the league average right now through 40, there's been 40,199 plate appearances this year, which is 35,702 at bats. The league batting average is, anybody have a guess?
225.
Mike, anything?
I think it's even lower.
Slightly higher, 234.
Okay.
234 with a slugging of 390, OPS of 701 as an average. But there have been, where are they here? 3,580 walks and 9,709 strikeouts. So they're striking out, you know, 3 times more often than you're getting a walk here in the league this year.
Nope. We'll definitely have to keep an eye. Like I said, it's still early. I mean, you know, I know here we can only speak regionally, but you know, it's May 13th, and I think we've only had a couple days over 70 degrees.
It's still cold, especially at night. It's still cold,
right,
for sure.
Right. So we'll keep an eye on that. All right. So our main topic today, we're excited to talk about. And Kevin came up. He's such a genius. Came up with the word syllabus. Okay, and curriculum. Basically, what's the path to becoming an elite level baseball player, an elite level softball player? You know, what does that look like? And that was an interesting topic because for me, Kevin, what made me start this program was, you know, working in other programs and then seeing how many private lessons were coming my way from kids inside that program. You know, working with kids 2 and 3 days a week. And, you know, it was quite obvious and apparent that the programs themselves at least didn't have a development curriculum. They didn't have a syllabus. They didn't have, there was just practices, basic practices, team practices. And, you know, you have maybe one coach or a coach and an assistant. You'd set up stations and the kids would go round robin, right? But no real hands-on instruction. And as we know, practice makes permanent, right? It makes permanent, right? And so, and you know, it's something we ask our kids all the time, just as a reminder. You know, whatever rep you're taking, right? Whatever every swing that you take is one swing closer to that being your permanent swing. Every throw you make is one throw closer to that being your permanent way to throw, etc. So it's imperative to learn the proper movements. As we said before, baseball, softball, it's such a mechanically driven sport. It's very, very much mechanically driven. And so, and it's also a reactive sport, right? You know, if we haven't talked about it, I'll remind everybody that baseball and softball is unique is that when you're on offense, You're in a reactive position. You're more like the linebacker than you are the running back. You have to react to the ball and be able to put a good swing on it, right? So, and with that type of skill, you really have to have proper muscle memory so that when you do react, you're making all the proper movements because you don't have time to think about it. Okay, and that's huge. And so that's what our program is built around. And how we do it. First of all,
give me a young
kid,
guy. Give me let's pull some. Let's do it a little league age. 10 to 12. What do you do?
I think that's the first question. Is like, what's the age? I think first of all, if your kid's 7 or younger, you don't need to be doing lessons. Okay. Because first of all, at that age, they still really can't conceptualize the movements that you're giving them anyway. They might be able to then and there, but they're not going to retain it. It's just not going to happen. Okay. So, and again, if there's exceptions, of course, but 8, but by 9 years old is a good age to start, working with the kids, doing some mechanical movements, teaching them the proper postures and the proper sequences of movement. And for a young kid, like for what we say, if we have a 9-10-year-old, let me see their lower, have their hips move first. That's it. I don't care what their hand path looks like. I don't even care if they really hit the ball all that well, because there's a whole other element. There's 3 pillars, by the way. Let's just start with those 3 pillars, the holy trinity of baseball development, in my opinion, right? There's the skill development, which is what we do. There's the strength training and postural stuff, which is what Kevin does. And then there's the mental training, right? Then there's up here, as Yogi Berra said, what was his quote? 90% of the game is half mental.
Yes, he did.
Or half the game, right? So that
something like that.
Yeah, I mean the point is correct, right? There's so much of the game that is mental, and that needs to be trained as well. So our part, we take a kid. We're not doing any mental training with a 9-year-old, okay? And Kevin will get into whether he would do strength training with a 9-year-old. I'll leave that to him. But for us, we're basically going to just teach him the basic fundamentals of rotating the hips first. And one thing, Kevin, that I don't know if you've ever seen me do this, but one thing I like to do, I know Ryan's seen me do this 100 times. I'll take a ball, tell the kid to put his bat down, okay? And I'll just throw the ball at him. And whether he catches it or not, he usually gets a hand on it or tries to get his hand on it. And I'll tell the next one, I'll say, all right, I'm going to throw this one high in the air, and I'll look up. And he's looking up, and I'll throw it at like his ankles. And out of the thousands of times that I've done that, not one kid yet has had the instinct to kick that ball away. They'll retch their back to try to get their hand on that ball, just to show how powerful hand-eye coordination is and how underdeveloped foot-eye coordination is, or leg-eye coordination, right? And so my point here is getting the kids to really learn to use their legs and turn their trunk and hips is the first step that they're not going to do instinctively. Their hands will instinctively go where the ball is, right? You put a 4-year-old, take a 4-year-old, give him a bat, you throw a ball, he's going to instinctively swing at it with his hands, right? But he's not going to instinctively turn his hips or, drive off his back leg, load into his front hip, all of those things. So that's sort of the basis. And then as they get older, we start to pick up the training. One thing I really do love about, by the way, about the travel ball is at the 11 and 12U age, they don't play on a Little League diamond anymore. Little League diamonds, the 40-foot mound and 60-foot bases, they're completely reserved for, 9s, 10-year-olds, 8, 9, and 10. And they, as it should be, they move on to a medium-sized diamond after that, where it's a 50-foot mound, 70-foot bases. And now you take leads, and there's pickoffs, and there's slide steps, and it's real baseball. And I think if there's any real advice I give to it, like to any parent out there who's looking to get their kid into travel ball and thinking of what age to start, I would say at the latest, have them start at 11. It's a great age. They're learning real baseball from the jump, stuff that they're going to be ahead of their Little League buddies. They're not going to get any of that at Little League. They probably won't anyway, but especially because of the size of the diamond. And it's a great way to start really learning the sport. And that's when we really ramp up the training. Once they get to like 12 and then 13, we're 3 days a week. We implement strength training. So they're doing strength training 3 days a week as well. And we'll even start with the mental training. We'll start doing some of the, the confidence building, the working with anxiety, learning to shed failure, et cetera, et cetera. What age would you start with, Kev? If you had, would you do any strength training with like a 9, 10-year-old?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it. Strength training is I'm not even sure I even like that terminology per se.
Right.
I look at everyone. I take everyone from an injury standpoint. Either rehabbing them from injury or trying to prevent injury. At that young age, we want to make sure that all the parts of the body are moving like they should, like kinesiologically, like they should. You'll have kids that are, 9, 10, 11, sometimes can't walk, as you say, can't walk and chew gum at the same time. So, like you said, you want to see their hip movement first. And sometimes that needs to be trained,
Yep.
So I don't want to add resistance to a base that's not moving kinesiologically correct. So, and that all depends. You could have someone, as we've talked about, someone at 12 who's moving like Michael Jordan, and when they're 14, they can't walk and chew gum at the same time because they've hit puberty and they've gone from 5'2" to 5'10" and have lost all of that core continuum of movement. And now you certainly can't say just because we've hit 13 now we can add weights, because now this kid is completely not coordinated any longer. So that's where I really focus on movement testing that I do to make sure, because you can't just from my standpoint, you can't blanket say, well, at this age we're going to do this, because there are people that are developed differently and can change along the continuum of movement. You can, like I said, have a 9-year-old that can't walk and chew gum. When they get to 11, they could be fantastic, and when they get to 13, they can go back to being uncoordinated again. So for me, before we add that kind of true, because when you say strength training, the parents are thinking, no, we're getting weights and we're doing this and we're
Yeah, no, not
pushing
necessarily
boxes.
at all.
And I know you're not doing it,
Yep.
but when you say that's what, how many bench press? He's on the bench press machine. He's doing squats, and have you seen that all these kids will come in? Oh, how much you squat? Oh, I squat 250 pounds. Oh, do you? And then I push them over with one finger because their squat is bad. But they're
Right.
these high school strength coach or whatever get it's again, how hard can we throw, how much can we lift, how much, and not the proper base. Like, you go back to, look, I want to see a kid be able to swivel his hips. I don't care where he hits the ball. I want to see a kid who's got all of stable moving spine, good range of motion, good, no substitution of movements to get a job done. And
Yep.
it's individualized, but group. I mean, you have to take each kid as an individual.
Yeah, of course, right? And especially the younger they get, the less experienced they're going to be, right? And so sometimes younger kids move better because they haven't been trained them properly. Sometimes they don't, right? And you got to teach them. I think it's great. I mean, every programmer that in my opinion, has to have somebody like a Kevin, who, if I have a kid who I say, geez, I can't get him to do this, or he just won't go in sequence. He'll start his leg and then his hip freezes and then his torso goes, and it's like there's a break in the chain. And Kevin can take a look at him and run him through some tests and go, oh, it's because his hip flexors are super weak, or whatever it is. He doesn't have any range of motion in here, or his glutes don't fire when they're supposed to. And that's a huge, huge thing to have. You need that, because otherwise, no really getting around certain breaks in that chain. And that's where the marriage of and again, I keep calling it strength training for lack of a better word.
But, no, you can't. I mean, that's just what the industry. And you talked about baseball's and we talked about this off air, that of all the major sports, football, basketball, hockey, and baseball, the great athlete doesn't parlay well into a great baseball player. You could be completely great. I mean, you could see who the best athlete is on the basketball floor. Right? You can see him jump and run fast, but that doesn't mean they parlay into a good baseball player because they're athletic. So you really have to, in order to train skills, you have to first train movement. You're trying to teach A, B, and C, but if they don't have the movement to be able to do A, B, and C, they're not gonna gain anything. And that they're gonna be run into a wall because they don't have the movement. Now, they might be able to jump higher, run faster than all their peers, but if they can't put all the motions together in sequence to do a highly skilled sport like hitting a baseball, you're going to run into those kind of problems.
Agreed. I think that's perfectly said, and that's why training and skill development is so critical. Because I think a lot of people, a lot of parents, dads think, what's so hard about it? You see the ball, you hit the ball, you catch the ball, you throw the ball, right? That's how I put the bat and you hit it. And it's up there at least, if not the most mechanically driven sport out there, right? Of all the sports, not just the 4 majors. And so, especially to do it at a high level, which is why you see these big drop-offs between 12 and 13 years old. And then again, between it's either 14 to 15 or 15 to 16, I forget, but there's another huge drop off. And it's because, we did a show on this way back on the math of it. Right. And so if you do not know how to move your body in the proper sequence and have the big muscles, your lower half swing the bat and let your hands just direct the barrel, you're never going to have the bat speed that's necessary to be able to see and pick up on and then react to an 85 mile an hour fastball, for instance, or an 80 mile an hour fastball. And it's all those basic things should be taught before they get to the big diamond, before they hit their growth spurt, and we see this all the time. We have a lot of kids. We don't turn kids away in our program. We'll place them, but we're not going to turn them away. And so we'll get a lot of kids that really have had no training before ever. And they're, maybe the 10th hitter in their league, in their town league. And then they'll start getting it. They'll start to teach them. They'll start to become a little bit more mechanically sound. They'll start to barrel balls more, but they're still little. So it's not really going anywhere. And all these kids that are a lot bigger than them that are not mechanically sound are outperforming them. And it's teaching that young kid, like, hey, you're doing it the right way, and give it some time, be patient, because when you grow, when you hit your growth spurt, you're going to leapfrog 75% of the kids out there that are right now, quote unquote, better than you, as you see better than you, or that are outperforming you. We see it all the time. Like literally every year, there's at least one group that gets into that point. So I think, to back up and get back to what Kevin was talking about, I think that having an understanding that you have to understand and learn how to actually move your body. And it sounds like, well, of course I know how to move my body. I do, but to really learn how to move it. And understanding Kevin talks about the proximal distal, that the body moves from the inside to the out, right? From the closest to the farthest, is huge. It is absolutely huge. And you'll never reach your potential until you actually get that, right?
Oh, for sure. And not only that, but if you bypass that, your chance of not only losing performance, but getting injured becomes at a very, very high rate. And that's, everyone who's come through my practice that has been injured from a baseball or sports standpoint had that chain of movement from proximal to distal is not there. It's been broken somewhere along the way. And the body, I always say, is an amazing tool. It's always going to do what you tell it to do. Good thing. It's an amazing tool. It's always going to do what you tell it to do. Bad thing, because it's just about I call it as being Irish American. It's the Irish. It's going to run through a wall to get it done, whether it looks nice or you're putting a huge hole in the wall, and that's what the body does. Right. We're stubborn.
No. Was it the Irish are the only group of people impervious to psychotherapy, right?
Right, correct.
Didn't that Freud say that? Yeah. So here's I think what some advice, right? So if you're a parent out there, I think it's number one, when your kid's young, and if and we get a lot of parents who go, hey, look, I was not a baseball player, my wife was not a softball player. He just loved baseball. He felt like we put him in Little League when he was young, put him in T-ball. He fell in love with it, loves baseball. I don't know what to tell him. What do I do? Right. And we get a lot of those. By the way, those are the best, because a lot of times when you think you know a lot and you don't, you're actually going to hurt them. But if you are one of those parents, any parent rather, just be patient. Let the kid have fun. That's the most important thing.
Huge.
That he's having fun, that he continues to grow that love of the sport, that you nurture that. Obviously, you want to put him in the best hands possible that you can. And we've done shows about that as well, about the questions that you should ask, talk to the people that, if you want to put him in a program, which I think would be smart. But you shouldn't care. We don't care. We don't care about success at 9, 10 years old. We don't. Now, no one likes walking away from a loss. No one likes it, but we don't care. And you shouldn't, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. It's all, and by the way, that's more opportunity for us to coach them, to say, here's where we failed and here's where we need to improve. If you go out there and you beat up on everybody, what are you learning from that? And so, if you're, freaking out because he's 0 for his last 8, just don't. He's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. Right. Or she's going to be fine. Let them develop. Things come in stages. And by the way, development is a very long process. It's a 3-year process. You can get a kid to perform like a mechanically sound swing, for instance, off a tee inside of a year. but then make it reactive. Can he do it in front toss? Well, that changes his old muscle memory. And I say this all the time. Remember how many, especially if the kid's a little older, 13, 14, think of the thousands of swings that kid took before I ever met him. It's very, very deeply ingrained muscle memory. So again, I just go back to be patient. Don't worry about the success. Certainly don't worry about the wins and losses, because they don't mean anything. They really don't. And down the road, when they're 15, 16, 17, they start to matter for that person again, for that boy or girl, when they're aspiring collegiate players and they want to play in college and people are watching. That's when it matters. And if you give them the patience early on, you have them in the right hands, they'll be there. I'll say this one last thing. If we get a kid that's 13 or younger, I can all but promise that we'll get them to be a collegiate level player. Now, college has all different types of levels, right? So depending on whether that's D3 or that's playing at LSU and D1 or power rank school, that's going to depend on a lot of things. Okay, but absolutely, because it's a skill sport, we can teach that player to become a collegiate player, but we need the patience of both the kid and the parent early on.
So you would say, Mike, so that would be, if you put a median time, 5 year, like what would 5
Sure.
years? Let's go. Let's just do this. What would 3 years? So someone comes to you at 14. You have 3 years. What do you think they're going?
So
average skill player comes through the door.
Yep. Well, I like that you asked that, because that's sort of the cusp year, right? So I use 13 on purpose, right? So 14, a lot of them have really started to develop. They've grown a bunch, and it's also a smaller time frame. So we really got to get them ready by 16, because that's when.
So let's say they come to you from another program.
Sophomore, junior year, right? Yep. Their sophomore, junior year, and so depending on their baseline, let's say that they, have they played before? Have they not played? I mean,
they're Joe or Jane average. Come to you from another program. What do we got?
Okay, I would say it would be up against it, to be honest with you. At 14, would be up against it. Would really and by the way, it's been done many times.
And what do you think the challenges are when you say you're up against it?
It's that it goes back to that how many swings they've taken before I met them. So it's just like, again, it's reactive. It's completely reactive. So that's why swings all look so different, right? I'm trying to think of something else that's like a basketball shot, right? Something that's proactive that you're controlling. You can decide when you want. It's easier to teach a new form in a shot because you can think as you're doing it. But to swing when it's completely reactive, you have to break down and get rid of an old muscle memory, something that's instinctive that your body just does in reaction, and teach a new one of those. So it concurrently, right? And so again, that's why we do it in stages. Like 990 times out of 1,000, we get a kid that comes in for the first time. They don't use their lower half first. There are just sequences off. And so getting them to do that, getting the hands to not do this is hard, right? So that's what we start with, lower half. So if a kid's 14 and we're starting at lower half, it's going to be hard. He's going to have to put in extra work, or she's going to have to put in work. But again, it has been done now. But if you had said 12 years old, what's 3 years look like? It is a stud. We got a stud in 3 years.
Yep. Just because of the age. And I see the same thing in pitching. You get some, because, unfortunately, a lot of people come to see me, when they have already been injured. And you'll see the same bad habits that even when it takes much longer to correct someone at the freshman, sophomore level than it does a 9, 10, 11, or 12-year-old, because they have so many bad habits. They have and even from my adaptive muscle shortening, lengthening, coordination, and that's all part of the whole muscle memory. All of that is in place that you've got to conquer all of those things, break them down, throw them out, and start with another white piece of canvas and restart. And that is difficult, especially when, like you said, it is a reactive sport. When they get on the mound, it's go time, right? There's no gee, do I have to do this, that, then this, that? Sometimes you have to detach their head and and it's difficult. It's certainly difficult at that age.
That's the thing. You don't want them thinking. Once they're in game, they can't. You don't want them thinking about this stuff.
No, they just have to do.
They got to do. They got to react. And so you really have to. And so think about that. To get somebody from where they're in whatever spot they're in, their swing is what it is. It's not a mechanically sound swing. They're not performing really well. They're not getting results to consistently getting positive results. And by the way, it takes time. So they're doing that against better competition, a smaller pool of kids, right? So,
Yep.
I mean, it's exponential really. And so when
Yep.
you get, 12 years old, by the end of that year, Kevin, we'll have that kid performing really well off. And I'm using hitting as this because it's easiest to talk about. All right. We'll have that kid performing a proper mechanical swing off the tee in a year. Okay. This is the vast majority. But you're not going to really see it in game that season, right? You'll see flashes of it, but not really. The next year, you're going to see a big improvement in that player. Okay. Performance-wise in game. But he's still not going to really be there. His swing is going to be much improved. His hand path, for instance, is going to be probably better. So his swing and miss rate, where his swing was in the zone this much, now it's, for 6 inches. Now it's there for like a foot. That's going to improve. He's going to see better performance out of that. But by year 3, he's really going to have that down mechanically. And now we're really just starting to work on the mental game. Because once you do have all the mechanics down, everybody, that's the fun of this game. Doesn't guarantee right? You got to know what your approach is, what you're looking for, how to hit in certain counts, how we hit in a 2-0 count versus a 0-2 count, etc. And we do that, right? And I think it's imperative that you have a program that does all 3. Right? That's what it takes.
So my follow-up would be, how does somebody know what? And this goes back again. We've asked this question again, but I'll put it to you again. How does someone know what program will be able to get their child from point A to point B to point C, and how do they know how to, what should they be looking for? If the goal is, look, my kid's 13 now, I want him to play Division 3, Division 2, or I think he's just, unbelievable athlete. Maybe he's, how do you know? Or what, how do they choose? And, what would a parent do?
Yeah, I got you. It's a good question. But so the first off is you have to ask yourself a question, which is, what am I looking for? Do I want my kid to get on like the most competitive possible team that he can make right now? Or do I want him in a program that is really centered on development and getting that kid placed into college? Right. Because
everyone says development. That's the big word out
everyone
there.
Says it.
Everyone says it.
Yeah. And almost everyone says that they're going to get your kid into college too. And I get that. Right. So you have to do a little bit of homework. Here's an easy way to do it. Look at how the teams perform per age group. If you look at ours, the lower age groups, we're not that good. Now, again, depending on how long they're in the program, but we typically never started at 10. We always started on at least the intermediate diamond. We've since changed that a little bit. Ryan coaches a team that's been together since they're 10. They're now 13. They're great. So we're ranked at 8-2, 10-2, and they should have won those 2 games, right? But typically, like our 11U team and 12U team, they might be 500 or worse, right? But as the ages go up, you should see the records get better and better and better, and that's what's important. Winning should be a byproduct of good training.
Because most of your players, I'm assuming, stay together. The 11s
Correct.
11s in 2019 are the 13s in 2021.
We have a player now, Jackson, who's been with us since he's 11 years old. I actually just went to one of his high school baseball games last night, and there were like 6 or 7 pro scouts there. I mean, and I can tell you that, and Jackson would tell you that he was 11. He was a good player. He probably wasn't in the top 4 on that team. He worked really hard.
So on the team, he wasn't a top. Okay, wow.
Correct. Yeah.
And you're thinking this kid could be drafted, right?
For sure. Oh, he will be.
For sure. He will be drafted.
He will be. Yes. Yeah. It's just a matter of where. So that's the point. So like, once you see the records of those teams increase, because there are some programs that do well in the higher age groups, but they recruit really well. Right. So, ask around, talk to people, was that team selected, that 17U team that's so good, or were they developed? That's a real big, what did that, because our 17U team that, I think I've said it before, like they wanted, they won a championship playing up a division, and they're just a really solid team. When they were 13, they were not very good. When they were 14, they had flashes. They weren't very good, but they won this big tournament, right? And they put it and that's when I knew this is starting to click. But that's how it has to go. And when you have a group of individually developed kids all getting together and playing together, so they're also just naturally building that chemistry, that team is going to be great. But the players themselves are going to see a lot of success once they hit that 14 or 15U age. That's sort of the sweet spot for us, because we try to get kids at 11, 12. So by that, 14, 15, once they grow and catch up with everybody,
Sure.
our kids tend to really take off a little bit.
Now, my follow-up to that question, and I already know the answer, but I'm going to give you an alley-oop layup, even though I know it would take you a step ladder to dunk. Anyway, games or development? You'll see a lot of people out there. Oh, we play 50, 70, 80 games, and I know you have said in the past, look, I'd rather play 30 games and be in the classroom or in the practice facility for double the amount of time to other programs, and that's pretty much where you come from, right?
Well, that's where I'm assuming you're talking at the younger ages, especially, right? So,
13. 13. Our program plays 65 games. Like, wow.
I've seen programs play 70 at 13.
70 games.
In fact, I know one team, and I won't say names, that was if they were 7, they were like 64-4, something like that, right? And had all these quote stud players. And all but like 3 of them don't even are not completely out of baseball, but they're nothing special. And so development again, support. It's really important to try to support your son or daughter. And it's really key. And I think if they have aspirations to play at a higher level, and by the way, if you enjoy watching your son or daughter and you want them to play in high school and college, let them develop. It doesn't matter what tournament they win at 13. It doesn't matter if some national ranked are at 13. I see that too. Like, who's ranking 13?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So try to put that noise aside. Try to get them into a program that really develops them, that puts the player first, right? I said it before. I'll say it again. I know it's cheesy, but, we look at a kid coming in like, he's not joining our team. We're joining his. I'm on Team Johnny. Kevin's on Team Johnny. Ryan's on Team Johnny. We're here to get you to where you need to be. Right. And that's how we want to look at it. And then again, the winning should come sort of as a byproduct to that training.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can table this. I think next week I want to talk about what we do for more elite players and how we get someone from, someone who walks in your door who's already a college player, like a division, and how do we get them to maybe get some money, what I'm saying? All right, cool. Mr. Producer, what's next, brother? What do we got?
Well, I know you had wanted to do a couple of news segments. Are we hopping into those right now, or are we?
Yeah, we can. Let me see if I can share my screen up here. Yeah, so I want to kind of do a little
tip of the week.
A little tip of the week here. We'll call a movement of the week here, so everyone can see my screen here. I hope. So sticking with the baseball, I have a movement here. I'll just let this run here. Called the catcher squat. And basically, this movement here really works on some very important muscles: glutes, back extensors, hamstrings, and in this particular photo, and actually this is a high school level softball catcher, and this isn't perfectly done. You can see her feet popping off here. For our ladies out there, the ball between the knees, which is that was the end of the clip. The ball between the knees, which is vital for women, especially. All right, because I just lost that. We'll get rid of that. Yeah. So the ball between the knees, as you can see here, which we can use any ball, is really stabilizing the groin. Women's knee injuries to men are, I don't know what the latest numbers are, 10-1, 20-1, but
wow,
yeah, much more. And the reason is, we know that women in the lower half are built a little bit different than men. They have wider hips to a narrow knee, so they don't tend to have as good, or more importantly, as quick responding adductors or groin. So if you're going to move left or right, the kind of sequences, our belly moves first, then our pelvic floor, and then our groin is really responsible for kind of giving us a hug and holding us in place. Well, women tend, because of that wider hip, tend to fire the muscles on the outside part of their leg first, and that's why there's so many knee injuries, because that ACL goes boom. So this catcher squat, ball between the knees in a catcher position, doing a very small, run it again, very small movement, working on the adductors, and I'll freeze it here. And right, kind of where that butt meets your hamstring, right where she's sitting on this bench, is a vital muscle to coordination, power, stability, everything. And the most important thing when doing this movement as well is to keep the natural curve in your back, which is called your lordosis, to keep that bent in or bent backwards. That's also a vital move as well when doing this. And this should be done, it's a perfect freeze right here. This could be done certainly as a warm-up, certainly before you go to bat, certainly after the game. This is a quick exercise that gets all of these, what we call your posterior kinetic chain, back extensors, glutes, hamstrings, groin, fired and ready to go. So that's my movement of the week, and we'll be doing that each week. And if people have questions about it or want a different move, or have, certainly email us at info@proveitlive.com, and we'll anything you send to us, we'll put it up on the screen.
Good job, Kev. I like that. That's important. As I can say as a coach that a lot of times, most times actually, where there's weakness in the glutes, and just that general midsection hip region anyway, right? And we talked about why that is, and we sit down doing too much stuff.
Sitting all day, right?
All day, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So the tip of the week for me, I do not have a video for you. Tough cookie.
Tough cookie.
But
we all have faces for radio anyway, so it's okay.
I know.
We don't have a video.
So staying in the same vein of development, and what I want to talk about is two things, and they're related here. Number one is that, and we already talked about it, development takes time. Training is a skill. You got to learn how to train smarter, not harder, right?
Always. Good point.
Right. And so we're going to talk about the tee. And a lot of people, players, especially younger players.
The golf tee?
I knew we were baseball tee.
I thought we were doing the golf show again. My bad.
The reusable one. So, so a lot of players and parents will look at that. My kids pass tee. Tees are for T-ball, and they're for the kids who never played before and they can't hit a moving target. That's not at all what the tee is for. That's what the tee had become. But the tees are originally for, and what it is should be used for, is to take a reactive skill like hitting, make it proactive by putting the ball and keeping it still, so that now, because you're not in a game, you can think about how you're moving. You can go slowly. You can go as slow as you have to, and that's my tip. Go as slow as you have to perform the movement in proper sequence first. You can slowly build up to doing it faster. The way to do that is don't take more than 10 swings off a tee at a time ever. If you think about it, if you're just up there and you're maybe with your kid and you're putting the ball up, swing after swing, you get a bucket and swing after swing, and he's had 46 swings in a row. How many of those did he focus on what he was doing versus focus just looking at the ball and hitting it, right? Take 10, focus, have a plan. I wanted to have, 7 out of 10 of these, whatever, go to the top right corner of a batting cage, whatever it might be. I want to feel my hips move first on all of them, whatever. Take 10, take a break, evaluate, try to better it the next time. And don't do more than 40 in a session. So that's like 4 sets of 10 swings. But again, start off really controlled. Get your hips and lower half moving first, and you slowly integrate your hand path into that. But that's how what a tee is. In fact, I remember Manny Ramirez, who pretty much anyone in baseball knows. It was said, I don't know if it's true, but the point is taken. He used to, and there's tons of videos out there of him hitting off the tee, by the way. If you want to go to YouTube, look at Manny Ramirez. He didn't even come off a tee every offseason until like November. So everything he did to that point would be off a tee. Wouldn't even do front toss until then. And smart, because again, that's where you really build the muscle memory that you need, so that when you see the ball, you can just react like we were talking about earlier. So that's
fantastic. Great point. And one, I will say that when you talk about doing it slow, momentum is a killer. We're talking about training movement. So I'll do a lot of work pitching wise with doing things very slow to get all of the muscle memory of the movement for sure. All right. So what do we have? Is it ready for my drum roll? Is it ready for why would you do that?
I believe it is.
All right.
So for this week's why would you do that? I'm throwing you guys a curveball. Pun kind of intended here. All right. Normally, we have a video that we talked about that we share with the viewers, and we, either critique it, good or bad, whatever the case may be. More often, we're saying, why would you do that? As in, that's a very terrible thing to do, right? This week, we're going to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to show you guys a video that you have not seen, and I want you to tell the viewers either why would you do that, or hey, this is why you would do that. So this video could be good or bad. This is going to be something for you guys to say, hey, you know what, this drill actually is beneficial, or it could be a mix. It might be, hey, parts of this drill are good, but there's other things that could be improved upon.
Is this like a test? I'm gonna study for
you guys pop quiz here.
All right, let's show it up there. Let's see what we got.
All right, bear with me a second while I pull this up.
Oh boy,
Is that Charlie Blank? Oh yeah.
All right, ready?
Nope.
So just so you know, what the caption of the video is called: stability and release and backside focus. So again,
What does that mean?
I'll let you guys.
What does that mean?
So I'm gonna. I'll go.
Oh, timeout. Hold on, Kevin.
I'll take
Sorry,
this first.
sorry.
All right, go ahead, Mike.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, say that again.
Stability and release, and then also backside focus.
All right, so I'm going to tell those for people who are viewing
Good Lord.
that anyone of any size can take and violently throw to the ground someone of any size bigger than them by taking their weight over their pinky toe in a circular movement. It's, as a belted Kempo practitioner, in this video where that foot is wobbling, especially going over the pinky toe, and we're talking about muscle memory, is training. I mean, this kid probably can't do this on. I'm assuming that white block has a little. It's not as stable as the ground, but you're promoting something that he can't do probably on a solid surface, and now you're moving to a dynamic surface, and all you're doing is skipping many, many parts of the development of the movement. So I do not like this drill. Michael?
Ditto. Don't like it either. All right. And it's a couple things. Number one, make sure your players wear shoes to do indoor hitting lessons, not cleats. That's number one.
He's got cleats on. Okay,
He's got cleats on.
Yep.
Number two, I know what he's trying to do for this drill.
Sure. Yep.
He's not doing it.
Correct.
He's not doing it. And we've got a side view. It'd be one thing if we had a front view, and it'd be harder to tell. Okay. But he's not saying anything in his title. I don't even know what any of that means. It doesn't it's like just words thrown together, like pulled out of thin air and thrown together.
Buzzwords. Tags. Little tags.
Right?
Yep.
He starts off in a good position. His knee, and so everybody listening, that right knee, his right knee, the back knee should stay inside the foot. See that wobble, that knee right there? The back knee should always stay inside the foot, and that's going to help keep the adductors engaged. It's going to keep his posterior chain engaged. And those are the muscles that we want to hit with on the backside of our body, back in our core, right? And he is, as Kevin mentioned, he's getting to the outside of the pinky toe. And so he's in a good spot to start, and then he completely ruins it right there. A wobbly knee. Now he's hitting with pure momentum. You don't want to be a momentum hitter. Here's why. Pitchers love momentum hitters. You know why? I don't have to throw 90. I don't have to have a nasty changeup. I just have to not throw the same exact speed twice.
Correct.
That's all.
Yep.
4 or 5 mile an hour change will have a hitter like that.
And like you said, Mike, the drill, here again, a lot of people on social media know just enough to be dangerous. The purpose of this drill, if we did this without the block, to get him to maybe pause at that, when he's loaded with a stable foot that doesn't move and then go into the hitting, would be, how would you refine that drill? That's what you would do. But to put him on a dynamic surface, what he can't even stand on is just, no good.
I'll even offer a tip to correct this drill to make it beneficial. We do something similar to this. We have a ramp.
Mm-hmm.
So if this thing were not just a block that he's standing on top of, just changing the elevation of his 2 feet, the ramp will keep you on your arch side of your foot, and it will really help you keep your knee inside your foot as you load back. So when he lifts his leg there, he should be loading into his backside.
Yep. And into the arch and big toe of his foot.
That's right.
Yep.
That is his foot and his knee should be acting almost like a kickstand on a bike.
Perfect example.
The bike's trying to fall, and that's holding it up, right?
Perfect example.
Yeah. So that's what you should be doing. And instead, he's going past that point, going over the foot. It's like literally having the exact negative effect on what I think they're trying to accomplish in this drill.
All right, we agreed on that one.
Nice.
Good. And for the record, I did not think that you guys were going to approve of that drill.
All right.
I
Well,
did
now
not
you know
think
us well.
the drill that
It was actually pretty good though, because like
That was good. I like that one. I like
the intent, because Ryan, we do that, right? We use that ramp, and it's a similar thing, but
again, but if you take, you just twist something a little bit, and someone's not going to get the result of the intended what the intended was. All right, fellas, good show.
All right.
Anything else?
No, I think that's it. We didn't talk. Oh, interestingly, we didn't talk about your golf this week. Wonder why?
Well, we have no comment on the golf. Apparently, well, we do have my partner's injured.
Oh, that's right.
Freak injury at work, which is
swinging a 10-ounce bat with one hand. Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
I'm not proud of how I got hurt, but yeah, it hurt.
So maybe golf update next week. Hopefully, if we have a little bit of a comeback.
Yeah, well, it was kind of an off golf week. Yeah.
The drives were still good. The drives were painful, but I was able to hit the ball well. But I just couldn't.
Putting.
This is your second time, right? Second time out.
Second time, yeah. So yeah.
Sophomore slump. Okay.
Yeah, it was not good. Yeah. All
right.
Hey, one thing somebody had alluded to, I think Kevin had alluded to, that I wanted to just jump into real quick. We're talking about, getting kids at a certain age and, where the drop off might be. One thing that is kind of an alarming stat, and this right here isn't just baseball. This is a poll from the National Alliance for Youth Sports. Around 70% of kids in the U.S. stop playing organized sports by the age of 13 because it's quote unquote just not fun anymore.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
To get to baseball, there was a poll done by the NCAA that say 75% of youth baseball players drop out by the age of 14.
There you go. That's 75%.
Wow.
That's it. Yeah. And
not good numbers.
We'll talk about maybe next week. We talk about why exactly that is.
I like that,
because I know exactly why that is.